Hello, my friends. Growth is never comfortable. If it were, everyone would be living at their highest potential without resistance. But that's not how transformation works. When something big is about to happen in your life, when God is preparing you for a blessing greater than you imagined, it doesn't come wrapped in ease. It comes through discomfort. It shows up in challenges that stretch you, moments that test your patience, and circumstances that make you question if you're even on the right path. It's unsettling, but that unease is a sign that something is shifting. You are being stretched, molded, and refined for the next level, and that process is rarely smooth. Think about it. Every major change in life, every step towards something better is accompanied by some level of discomfort. Before a seed breaks through the soil, it is buried in darkness. Before a butterfly emerges, the caterpillar must endure the confinement of a cocoon. Before a diamond shines, it must withstand intense pressure. It's easy to admire the end result, but few talk about the struggle that comes before the breakthrough. That's because struggle isn't glamorous. It's exhausting, it's lonely, it makes you doubt yourself. But if you resist the discomfort, you resist the very thing that is preparing you for what's next. One of the hardest parts of this process is that discomfort often feels like a sign to stop. When things get difficult, when doors close, when plans fall apart, our instinct is to believe we are on the wrong path. We assume that ease equals alignment and struggle means something is wrong. But what if struggle is actually proof that you are moving in the right direction? What if the discomfort is not a warning to turn back, but an invitation to push forward? Growth requires resistance. Muscles don't get stronger without tension, and neither do we. Discomfort is not your enemy, it's your trainer, your refiner, your evidence that change is happening. God doesn't bring discomfort to punish you. He allows it to prepare you. If life always felt easy, if every blessing came with no effort, we would never develop the strength to carry what we are praying for. Sometimes what we ask for is bigger than what we are currently capable of handling. And instead of giving it to us before we're ready, God strengthens us first. That means walking through seasons where nothing makes sense, where we feel lost, where we wonder why things are so hard. But what we don't realize in the moment is that we are being equipped. Our patience is being stretched. Our faith is being deepened. Our resilience is being built. And when we come out on the other side, we are no longer the same person. We are stronger, wiser, and ready for what's next. If you are in a season of discomfort, take a moment and shift your perspective. Instead of seeing the struggle as a setback, consider that it might be a setup. Instead of feeling defeated by difficulty, ask yourself what it's trying to teach you. Are you being called to develop patience, to let go of control, to trust more deeply, to step into a version of yourself that is bolder, more courageous, more prepared? The challenge is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And the sooner you embrace it, the sooner you move through it. Breakthrough never happens in comfort. It happens when you keep going even when every part of you wants to quit. It happens when you trust the process even when you don't understand it. It happens when you lean into the discomfort instead of running from it. Because one day, not long from now, you will look back at this moment and realize that the struggle wasn't breaking you. It was building you. And everything you endured was leading you straight to the breakthrough you've been waiting for. We have all faced moments in life where a door we desperately wanted to walk through suddenly shut in our faces. A relationship ends without warning. A job opportunity slips away. A dream we have worked tirelessly for seems to crumble overnight. And in those moments, it's easy to feel devastated, lost, or even betrayed by God. We ask, why? Why did this happen? Why now? Why me? But what if that closed door wasn't meant to hurt you? What if it was meant to protect you? What if it wasn't a rejection, but a divine redirection? We often think we know what's best for our lives, but God sees beyond what we can. He sees the hidden dangers, the misaligned paths, and the detours that would only delay our purpose. So when a door closes, it isn't always because something is being taken from us. It's often because we are being guided towards something greater. It's human nature to cling to what is familiar, even if it no longer serves us. We hold on to people, places, and plans because they feel safe, because they fit into the story we've written for ourselves. But God's plan is always bigger than our imagination. Sometimes he allows a door to close because he knows we would never leave on our own. He knows we would settle for good enough when he has greater waiting for us. And so he steps in, not to punish us, but to push us, to remove what is holding us back, to shift us onto the right path. It may not feel like it in the moment, but every closed door is an act of love. It's a divine intervention designed to prevent us from stepping into something that isn't meant for us. Think about all the times in your past when you thought you lost something valuable, only to later realize that it was never meant for you. A person you begged to stay, but who left, only for you to find deeper peace without them. A job you thought was perfect, but that rejection led you to something even better. A dream that didn't work out, but in its place you discovered a purpose far greater than you originally imagined. At the time, it felt like failure, but looking back, you can see that it was divine protection. If those doors had remained open, you might have settled. You might have walked into something that drained you rather than fulfilled you. You might have missed out on the opportunity God had truly designed for you. One of the hardest lessons in faith is learning to trust closed doors. We want answers. We want clarity. We want to know why things didn't work out the way we planned. But sometimes God doesn't give us immediate explanations. He simply asks us to trust, to surrender, to believe that what is ahead is better than what we are leaving behind. And that is not easy. It requires faith to walk away from something you thought was meant for you. It takes strength to stop banging on a door that refuses to open. But trust this. When God closes a door, it is never without purpose. He does not take without giving. He does not remove without replacing. So if you are facing a closed door right now, do not let it break you. Do not let it convince you that you are unworthy or forgotten. Instead, take a deep breath and shift your perspective. What if this is not the end, but the beginning? What if this is not a loss, but an invitation to something greater? Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Ask, what is this making space for? Because one thing is certain, God does not close a door without preparing a better one to open. And while you may not see it yet, that door is waiting for you. The best blessings in life are often hidden behind what first appears to be disappointment. But when you look back, you will see it clearly. That closed door was the best thing that ever happened to you. It rerouted you. It saved you. It aligned you with something that was always meant to be yours. So do not mourn what was lost. Trust what is coming, because when God redirects, it is always towards something greater. There comes a time in life when you feel a deep, unshakable restlessness within you. It's not just boredom or dissatisfaction. It's something more profound. It feels like an invisible force pulling you in a new direction, even when you don't fully understand where you're going. You wake up feeling like something is missing, like you are meant for more, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is. This feeling can be frustrating because it doesn't always come with clear instructions. It just lingers, stirring something inside of you that refuses to be ignored. But here's the truth. That restlessness isn't random. It's not a mistake. It's a signal that transformation is happening. It's a sign that you are being prepared for a new season, a higher level, and a purpose greater than what you have been living. Most people try to silence this feeling. They distract themselves with work, relationships, social media, anything to avoid facing the discomfort of change. But restlessness isn't something you can outrun. The more you ignore it, the louder it gets. It keeps showing up in quiet moments, whispering that you were made for more. You might start feeling disconnected from things that once brought you joy. Conversations that used to excite you now feel empty. The life you've built, as comfortable as it may be, suddenly feels too small for who you are becoming. That's because transformation requires shedding old layers. It's about outgrowing versions of yourself that no longer fit. And as painful as it can be, it's necessary. You are not meant to stay the same. Growth is your calling, and restlessness is the push that gets you there. One of the hardest parts of this process is that transformation often happens before clarity. You may not have a clear vision of what's next, only a deep knowing that something needs to change. And that uncertainty can be terrifying. But faith requires you to trust the feeling even when you don't have all the answers. When a caterpillar enters its cocoon, it doesn't have a blueprint for how it will become a butterfly. It just follows the process. It surrenders to the discomfort, trusting that something beautiful is on the other side. You must do the same. Instead of resisting the restlessness, lean into it. Instead of fearing the unknown, embrace it. This is not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough in the making. Restlessness is also a sign that you are being called to take action. You aren't meant to stay in the same place forever. Your purpose is too big, your potential too vast. But stepping into that purpose requires courage. It requires you to let go of what is familiar and step into what is unknown. And that is not easy. Growth comes with risk. It means making decisions that may not make sense to others. It means trusting yourself enough to follow the pull even when the path isn't clear. But remember this. The greatest things in life are always on the other side of uncertainty. Every person who has ever achieved something great has had to walk through a season of restlessness first. It is the gateway to transformation. If you are feeling restless, do not see it as a burden. See it as a blessing. It means you are evolving. It means you are being stretched into a greater version of yourself. And while that may be uncomfortable, it is also necessary. Your restlessness is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is right. It's an invitation to rise, to step forward, to create the life you are truly meant to live. Do not settle for a life that no longer fits you just because change feels scary. Honor the feeling, follow where it leads, trust that what is ahead is greater than what you are leaving behind. One day you will look back and realize that this season of restlessness was the turning point. It was the moment you stopped ignoring your potential and started stepping into it. It was the moment you stopped shrinking to fit a life that was too small and started expanding into the person you were always meant to be. So let it happen. Let yourself transform, because the feeling inside of you isn't here to break you. It's here to awaken you. Life has a way of testing us before it blesses us. Opportunities rarely show up in neat little packages with clear labels, making it easy for us to recognize them. Instead, they often come disguised as difficulties, obstacles, and situations that feel overwhelming. You may be facing a season where everything seems to be going wrong. Doors are closing, plans are falling apart, and nothing is going the way you expected. But what if, instead of being setbacks, these challenges are actually stepping stones? What if, instead of blocking you, they are guiding you towards something greater? The truth is, many of the most significant breakthroughs in life happen in the middle of struggle. What seems like an impossible challenge today could very well be the doorway to your next big opportunity. Think about some of the most successful and inspiring people in the world. Most of them didn't start out with open doors and easy paths. They faced rejection, failure, and hardship. Yet those very challenges became the fuel that propelled them forward. A failed business led to the idea that created a billion-dollar empire. A job loss forced someone to discover their true passion. A personal hardship opened the door to a purpose they never imagined. What these stories teach us is that struggle is not the enemy. It is the birthplace of transformation. If everything came easily, we wouldn't develop resilience, creativity, or the ability to think beyond our comfort zones. The very challenges you are facing right now might be shaping you into the person you need to become in order to receive your biggest opportunity. One of the hardest parts of this process is that in the moment, challenges feel like burdens rather than blessings. When you're in the middle of a storm, it's hard to believe that anything good can come from it. The frustration, the uncertainty, the fear, it's all consuming. But hindsight is powerful. If you look back on your life, you'll likely see moments where something that seemed like a disaster ended up leading you to something better. That relationship that ended, it made space for the right person. That rejection letter, it redirected you towards something more aligned with your purpose. That failure, it forced you to grow in ways you never would have otherwise. The challenge wasn't there to stop you, it was there to shape you. Another thing to remember is that challenges often force us to develop the very skills we need for our next opportunity. Imagine someone who dreams of becoming a leader. If everything in their life is easy, they will never develop the patience, wisdom, or problem-solving abilities required to lead effectively. But if they go through struggles, if they have to navigate uncertainty, make tough decisions, and push through setbacks, they become equipped with the strength they need for the role ahead. Your current struggle is training ground for your future success. It is refining you, preparing you, making you stronger. What feels like resistance is actually building the muscles you'll need to carry the blessing that's coming. So instead of resisting challenges, start looking at them differently. What if, instead of asking, why is this happening to me, you started asking, what is this preparing me for? What if instead of feeling defeated by obstacles, you started seeing them as invitations to rise? The moment you shift your perspective, everything changes. You stop feeling like a victim of your circumstances and start realizing that every difficulty is actually an opportunity in disguise. And that doesn't mean challenges won't be hard. It just means you don't have to be afraid of them. You can trust that they are leading you somewhere, that they have purpose, that they are necessary for your growth. One day, not long from now, you will look back on this moment and realize that the very thing you thought was breaking you was actually building you. You will see how every challenge was connected, how every struggle was necessary, how every no was simply making space for a bigger yes. So don't give up. Don't let temporary struggles make you forget that something greater is coming. Keep pushing forward, keep learning, keep trusting. Because hidden within your biggest challenge is an opportunity that is waiting to change your life. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that can hold us back. It whispers doubt into our minds, convincing us that we are not ready, not worthy, not capable. It magnifies obstacles, making challenges seem insurmountable. It keeps us stuck in the familiar, afraid to take a step forward because of what might go wrong. But here's the truth. Every great breakthrough, every bold decision, every step toward purpose requires choosing faith over fear. Faith doesn't mean the fear disappears. It means you move forward despite it. It means trusting in something greater than your circumstances, believing that there is a plan even when you can't see the full picture. Fear asks, what if I fail? But faith asks, what if this is exactly where I am supposed to be? The battle between faith and fear is a constant one. Fear will always try to have the loudest voice, filling your mind with worst-case scenarios. It will remind you of every past failure, every moment of uncertainty, every reason why you shouldn't take the next step. But faith speaks a different language. Faith tells you that your past does not define your future. Faith reminds you that you are not alone, that you are guided, that there is a path already laid out for you. The challenge is that faith requires trust. It requires stepping forward before you see the outcome. It requires believing that even when things don't go as planned, they are still working for your good. Fear needs proof. Faith moves without it. And that is where the power lies. Think about the moments in your life when fear almost stopped you. Maybe it was the fear of rejection that kept you from pursuing an opportunity. Maybe it was the fear of failure that held you back from chasing a dream. Maybe it was the fear of uncertainty that kept you in a situation that no longer served you. And yet, if you look back, you'll see that the times you did choose faith, when you pushed past fear and stepped into the unknown, those were the moments that changed everything. Fear keeps you small, but faith expands you. Fear keeps you in the shallow waters, but faith calls you into the deep. Every time you choose faith over fear, you are saying yes to growth, to possibility, to transformation. One of the biggest misconceptions about faith is that it means never feeling afraid. But real faith isn't about the absence of fear. It's about refusing to let fear make your decisions. It's standing at the edge of something new, feeling the fear rise in your chest, but stepping forward anyway. It's trusting that even if you stumble, you will not fall. It's knowing that even in the moments of doubt, even in the waiting, even in the uncertainty, you are being guided. Fear will tell you to wait until you have all the answers, but faith tells you to move, trusting that the answers will come. It is in those moments of uncertainty that faith is most powerful, when everything in you wants to retreat, but something deeper calls you forward. Faith is a choice you must make daily. It's a practice, a mindset, a way of living. It's choosing to believe that you are exactly where you need to be, even when you don't understand why. It's trusting that closed doors are not rejections, but redirections. It's knowing that even the setbacks, even the disappointments, even the seasons of waiting are all part of a greater plan. When you choose faith over fear, you step into alignment with something bigger than yourself. You allow yourself to be guided, to be stretched, to be transformed. You stop letting fear be the driver of your life and start letting faith lead the way. One day, you will look back and realize that every moment of fear was simply a test of whether you would let it hold you back or whether you would rise above it. You will see that the times you trusted, even when you were afraid, were the times that led you to your greatest blessings. So don't let fear win. Don't let it convince you that you are not capable, not ready, not worthy. You are. Choose faith. Choose to step forward. Because when you do, you'll realize that everything you've ever wanted has been waiting for you on the other side of fear. There comes a time in every journey when you feel like you're walking alone. The people you once relied on may start to drift away. The conversations that once excited you begin to feel empty. The spaces you once felt comfortable in no longer fit who you are becoming. This can be a confusing and even painful experience, but it is not a punishment. It is preparation. When God is elevating you, He often removes distractions, relationships, and environments that are no longer aligned with your purpose. Isolation is not meant to break you, it is meant to shape you. It is in solitude that clarity is found, strength is built, and purpose is revealed. Growth requires separation, and elevation demands that you leave behind what no longer serves you. The challenge is that isolation feels uncomfortable. We are wired for connection, and when familiar people and places begin to fade, it can feel like abandonment. You may start questioning yourself, wondering why certain friendships are ending or why you no longer feel at home in spaces that once felt safe. But this is the cost of growth. Not everyone is meant to go with you to the next level. Some relationships were only meant for a season, and forcing them to continue will only hold you back. If you are feeling alone right now, do not rush to fill the empty spaces with noise or distractions. Instead, embrace the stillness. Listen to what God is trying to reveal to you. Sometimes He needs to separate you so that you can hear Him more clearly. Elevation also requires self-reflection. When you are constantly surrounded by people, opinions, and external influences, it is easy to lose sight of who you are and where you are going. Isolation gives you the opportunity to reconnect with yourself. It forces you to confront your fears, your doubts, and your patterns of self-sabotage. It is in these moments of solitude that you learn the most about yourself. You begin to see what truly matters, what needs to change, and what is no longer serving you. Growth is an internal process before it is an external one. Before you can step into the next level of your life, you must first become the person who is ready for it. And that transformation often happens in the quiet, away from distractions. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everyone will understand your journey. When you begin to elevate, some people will question your choices, criticize your growth, and even distance themselves from you. This is not a reflection of you. It is a reflection of where they are in their own journey. Growth can make others uncomfortable because it forces them to confront their own stagnation. But you cannot dim your light to make others feel comfortable. You cannot shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant to contain you. If your elevation requires isolation, trust that it is necessary. The right people, the ones who are truly meant for you, will align with your path at the right time. Isolation is also a time of preparation. Just like a seed must be buried in darkness before it can grow, you too must go through a season of solitude before you step into your full potential. This is the time to develop discipline, to strengthen your mindset, and to refine your vision. It is a time to build without distractions, to work on yourself without the pressure of outside opinion. Many of the greatest leaders, visionaries, and innovators went through seasons of isolation before their breakthroughs. They had to detach from the world's expectations to fully step into their calling. If you are in a season of isolation, trust that it is not a setback, it is a setup. You are being prepared for something greater than you can imagine.